Hello, my name is Søren Christensen, and you are listening to the Biz in Poland podcast, part of bizinpoland.com, your key to the Polish market. Before I talk about this week's episode, I will tell you that you now can support my podcast and dog shelters in Poland at the same time, because I have created a Patreon page at patreon.com/bizpl, it's BIZPL, and there are different amounts you can choose from, but from all of them, 10% will go to the dog shelters every month in Poland. And you can choose which dog shelter it will be, and there are a lot of different benefits depending on the patron level and the amount you're paying. It is from €1 per month plus VAT and upwards. Read more about it at patreon.com/bizpl. I will of course also link to it in the show notes, and there will be more info in the show notes as well. But back to this episode, I will talk about how to find qualified employees in Poland, and that will be in general terms, because there are some jobs in the IT sector, for example, that are a bit different to search for. But enough chit-chat, let's get down to business. When you are looking for qualified employees in Poland, you will for a start, of course, look at the job boards. And the most popular one in Poland is without a doubt pracu.pl. Another option is, for example, infopraca.pl. I will link to them both in the show notes. You can upload the job ads in English, for example. It does not have to be in Polish. It is not mandatory, but the websites are in Polish. So it's a good idea, for example, to use the Chrome browser so you can have the job board translated into English. In Poland, it is most common for the employee to only send the person's CV and not also a cover letter, but you can of course ask for a cover letter as well. In the job ad, it's important to write that the applicant has to write that it's okay for your company to handle it according to EU's GDPR rules. A lot of candidates from Poland choose to use a longer statement which invokes the provisions of the General State Protection Regulation, in other words, and in short, GDPR. In Polish, it's RODO. I will show how it's written in the show notes so you can copy and paste it if you need it. There are of course also other options to find qualified employees in Poland, and that is via recruitment companies, for example. And there are many of them. I will add them, or some of them, in the bonus content together with information how you legally can save some money in this matter when you're hiring employees in Poland. But if you hire a recruitment company in Poland, you of course have to pay them, and sometimes it is expensive and extra expensive if it is a specialized recruitment company like in the IT branch. But I will cover that in a later episode. When it comes to salaries in Poland, it is important to know that it's not like in Scandinavia, for example, where the unions are very strong and therefore have negotiated the salaries and other work conditions for the employee. In Poland, it is negotiated by the employee and the employer, and it's also very important to be aware of that you don't pay only your own dues as a business owner, which is public healthcare and pension, but also the employee dues. Unless you hire the person on a B2B contract, because then the employee has to pay that by her or himself. They have to pay 4.9% or 9%, depending on their income. It is a new tax rule coming with a Polish tax deal, and you can hear the overview about the Polish tax deal in an earlier episode of Biz in Poland podcast. It is important to notice that if you offer a B2B contract, then the applicant expects a much higher salary than if it's a standard one. And it's because the employee then has to pay the SUS, that, and also have to pay for his or her own holiday. So there are a lot to consider when you will hire qualified employees in Poland. But I can of course give you some more advice regarding this as well.
Business news from Poland. Put on the fortune and broke scale.
The bad news this week, and therefore on the broke scale, is that Poland is responsible for 1/3 of EU's coal-based electricity, and that shows a new EU report. The analysis also shows that in 2021, fossil fuels still accounted for 37% of the total electricity production in the EU, which means a decrease from 39% compared to 2019. Renewable energy sources at the same time generated 37%, while nuclear energy 26%. I think it's amazing that Poland is not further when it comes to go away from coal-based electricity. I mean, it is 2022 and there are a lot of options regarding going to more environmentally friendly energy sources, but it goes way too slow. Let's hope that it will change soon. The good news on the fortune scale this week is that the gross domestic product of Poland grew by 5.7% in 2021 compared to the previous year. There was a 2.5% decline in 2020, and it's the Central Statistical Office in Poland, called GUS in short, that's reported that. But it's very important to notice that it's only early estimates. I think it's great, of course, that this part of the macroeconomy goes well in Poland, and it seems to do so this year as well. I hope this episode helped you regarding how to find qualified employees in Poland. There are more information in the show notes, and there are exclusive bonus content for some patrons on patreon.com/bizpl. Check it out, and remember 10% goes to the dog shelters in Poland. There are of course a lot of more information regarding this area, so I will also cover that in a future episode of Biz in Poland podcast. So also remember to subscribe so you will not miss it. Thank you so much for listening. And as I said, please remember to subscribe to the podcast. It will help me a lot. Until next time, take care.